All right, what's going on, gents? Today we're going to be going over observation positions, otherwise known as OPs. The point of observation positions is just to provide an early warning for a larger force, whether that's in a patrol base, doing mounted operations, or like in an ambush, like your flanks. Setting in those OPs provide you that early warning. These OPs can conduct surveillance, but they could also do some target acquisition or interdiction for you guys. All right, so typically OPs are manned with no less than 2 Marines, and that's just because everywhere you go in your Marine Corps, you got to have a buddy with you. It also helps you with that rest plan, being able to rotate off and on, one on observation, one on rest, whether that be like security or just he's just executing a rest plan. And the importance of the OP, again, is just provide that early warning, and you can do that through your pace. And typically, you need to have radio communications back with your patrol base or just like your main effort that you are supporting in that moment. All right, guys, and for this video, we are still referencing the TNR manual. It's one of the first 0300 level events is Occupy an OP. It also, according to the TNR for this, it hits OPs and listening posts, I think 3 times. It covers them on 0300 events, 0311 events, and then even fire team events. We're going to be focusing on the fire team event specifically, because I think it's the most detailed one and it hits all the wickets for you guys. So we're just going to talk about each wicket, go down, and then after this, we're going to get like a practical application portion for this video. So that first step, depart friendly lines. Some things that need to happen before we do that is prepping our individual camouflage. As you guys saw in the intro, and as you'll see later in the video, we have our helmet camouflage, we have our Cobra hood, and our rifles all decked out in camouflage. We have our cami paint on. That's something that needs to happen before you leave. You want that individual camouflage system or whatever you're doing prepped. That way, when you step off, you're concealed as much as possible. Next thing you're going to do is make sure you have radio communications with hire. So all that really involves is just getting a quick radio check with whoever you're going to be communicating with while you're in the observation position. Now we're going to get into the GOTWA portion. We're going to expand on it a little bit more. We've definitely had personal experiences where GOTWAs actually play into like everyday life.
Right. Like we've had a couple of junior Marines that we specifically told us to give us GOTWAs wherever they were going, whether we were at the range, whether we were at the bricks, whether we were blah, 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 blah. It was just good practice to have them go ahead and give us the full statement and get reps at it, even though it was something minuscule, like just they're going to the bathroom.
Yeah, and it again, it has practical uses. Like when we would go places where you just didn't have cell phone service, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. If I'm not, this is likely where I'll be. Just come find me there. So GOTWA does just have practical uses in every day. Maybe think about incorporating that just into your cultural language that you have at your specific units. But breaking it down like letter by letter, the GOTWA is going, who's going, others I'm going to take with me, the time I'll be back, probably one of the most important ones, what to do if I don't return, and then actions if I take contact versus you take contact. Right. And again, that's important with the OP because if you take contact, you're likely breaking contact back to your patrol base's general AO. If your patrol base takes contact while you're in an OP, you probably messed up your OP, and now they're probably going to break contact like a rally point.
Right. And it's just a statement to give. It's a very simple statement. You're just giving somebody like a, hey, heads up, I'll be over here. This is where I'm going to be at this time. I'm taking so-and-so with me. It's just like a simple, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is what you need to know. This is what happens if this happens. So,
yeah, if you want to get really specific with it too, especially guys who write orders a lot, you can actually include a GOTWA into like your coordinating instructions, and you can name it like GOTWA 1, GOTWA 2. That way, like if you know that these guys are stepping out on Leaders Recon or these guys are going to be the designated OP team, you can say, hey, GOTWA 2 ATL, we're going. And then he already has all the information he needs. He can just flip to like his X-check sheet, and then he knows what's going to happen.
And it just makes it more concise and actually faster. So, I don't know, something to keep in mind.
Cool. All right. So the next step in the TNR, according to like the fire team level event, is moving by a covered and concealed route to that observation position. And as you guys kind of saw in the intro, we were utilizing a like natural terrain feature kind of thing. It was not really a trench. It was just similar to it. We're using that to just kind of give us a little bit more cover and concealment moving through the tree line, and that's kind of what you want. A lot of the times when you're moving around in different training areas, there's already a pretty well-beaten path.
Somebody's already walked it.
Yeah, as we've seen. So you can utilize those, but you just got to think about that might be a place that someone might put an OP at.
Right. Or conduct an ambush at.
Yeah, and then just making sure you're doing an actual planning. Hopefully, like while you're in your patrol base, you don't have to do that off-the-cuff planning. Hopefully, it's just something that's done a little bit more deliberately. But you're conducting that terrain analysis, whether it be through map or ISR features, and you're going to take the most covered and concealed route possible to your objective area. All right, now we're going to get into actually occupying the LPOP. So once we've taken that covered and concealed route through, we've done our SILS halt, our stop, look, listen, smell prior to actually occupying the position. We're going to move into that position. So the difference between occupying versus establishing something. According to the publications that we use in the infantry, there is a tactical task, occupy. There is not one specific to establishing, and I kind of make that clear to my guys. According to MCDP1, Tag 0, Appendix Charlie, the task occupy has a certain definition. The word establish is not in there, but according to that publication as well, you can make up your own tactical task as long as you provide that definition. So what I tell my guys is when we establish an ORP, two things need to happen. That's security and comm back with hire. So once we've established an ORP, or once we've established an OP, that implies that security has been set, and we establish security with those left, rights, and PDFs. We assign the sector to the team, and then comm with hire is established. That means that the OP is 100% like good to go, not just occupied.
Right.
Because again, we're trying to alleviate confusion in the infantry, make things very simple, because we might not always have the most high-speed dudes out there.
Yeah.
So we want to be specific. So if I tell a dude to establish an OP, those are things that need to happen. All right, now just breaking that down a little bit further, because again, the TNR mentions things specifically. Identify sectors of observation and fire. Those can be one and the same depending on the location that you're in. And again, that can simply just be a cardinal direction. It can be an azimuth in degrees or in mils. And typically when you assign an OP for a long duration of time and you're going to be switching out, you will build a range card. We can throw up a picture of a range card on the screen for you guys. It's pretty simple. What are some tools that you've used to like build those range cards out? Because I know you've made a lot of them.
Well, yeah. So realistically, you need to, one, have like I recommend having a template. I built a template on my right in the rain for like maybe 5 or 6 range cards ahead. So that way, when I needed to fucking pop in, do my range card, it wasn't me drawing the entire range card sketch of like how I need to, everything's already done. It's just copy and paste. Like in the back of your right in the rain, that I would just redo it in my free time. And then from there, it would just be getting my azimuth with compass or whatever I had, setting up like my TRP, setting up my back azimuth. Like everything was already like noticeably easier if I already had a pre-staged card. So I do recommend that as a tip.
Yeah, and pre-staging that also helps with just mitigating movement in the OP. You don't typically want a ton of movement, especially if you're trying to be as concealed as possible. Also on that range card, you need to make sure you're recording dead space.
Right.
That dead space is just the space that you cannot see. So that means something could possibly be behind it, whether that be like dead space behind a building,
like
dead
a rock,
space, behind a tree line, something like that.
So.
A tank hulk, something crazy like that.
Yeah, you can't see it.
So the next portion is just establish communication with hire. And again, before you stepped off, you should have got a radio check with hire. You should have a pace, and you should have a no comm plan. That no comm plan will probably be if you don't have comm with hire within however many hours, minutes, whatever, you'll probably push back to the patrol base or to a specific rally point to link up with the current unit you're attached to. And again, the old school method to do this was with field phones. I think field phones are really cool. It's a very easy way to do it while also mitigating your signature. But yeah, just making sure you've established comm with hire, whether it be through radio communication, some type of panel signal, because there are places like in 29 Palms where you can actually see your OP because they're on top of a hill.
Right.
And it could be, hey, I'm going to give you the orange air panel every 2 hours just to let you guys know I'm okay and I'm awake and I'm actually conducting the mission.
Right.
which that mission is listen and observe, right? So when you're in an OP, that next step is actually listening, actually observing. And we're going to break down some observation techniques for you guys. We can also throw up pictures of like what the publication calls certain things. But from what we were taught in our specific POI and our very basic training, we got the lazy W, the near to far. Make sure you're scanning from right to left, not left to right. Very simple, basic things they typically teach entry-level privates. But for you civilians out there, like this is some information that you may not think about. So make sure that you're specifically scanning right to left, because typically humans read things from left to right. So it's kind of going against the grain a little bit. The lazy W is just simply very, very slowly going near, far, diagonally, near, far, diagonally. Yeah, very, very simple stuff. There's even like a box method, a few other tools you can do to actually listen and observe. All right, and then what we're doing from there is once we see something through our observation techniques, we're just reporting those things to higher. So typically, if we're in an observation post for a long period of time and it's more deliberate, we're going to get PIRs, those priority intelligence requirements that our higher command is going to give us because they want something specific out of that OP.
Right.
They should assign you those PIRs, because if you don't, you could just be reporting up anything.
Yeah,
like,
I see nothing for 7 hours.
Yes, it's
been 6 cars that drove by. What am I looking for?
Yeah, it's going to force you to give information that your hire actually wants. So if they want you to identify certain vehicles that are moving along avenue of approach, if they want you to identify certain aircraft that's moving through the AO, it just makes the mission a little bit more specific, and it gives a specific outcome to what they actually want.
Right.
Also, in built-up environments like a city, they might not want anything about the civilian traffic, only something specific to like military movement. So the PIRs are typically formulated in like a question. So it's like, are there military units in this AO? And an indicator of that might be military vehicle. That's just kind of how that system works with that. All right, so the next thing we got is repositioning those LPOPs. So if we need to reposition that LPOP because there's a structure in front of us and we want to clear that dead space that we've identified, we can cloverleaf around the objective. So reverse our movement into the OP, making sure we're not moving laterally where people on the objective can see us, reinsert, and then make sure we're covering that dead space by moving the OP around. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is make sure that we have a plan if we come under compromise. You can do everything right in infiltration. You can make sure you have great individual camouflage, everything. But if someone just takes the right turn on a security patrol and compromises you, you have to break contact. So making sure if you're going to be in this OP for a certain duration of time, I'd say probably longer than 12 hours, you need to use that time to develop a rally point. So that can be halfway between you and the patrol base, maybe just in the opposite direction. Or it can be closer to the patrol base. And then if you come under contact, according to your GOTWA, they will then link up with you there and give you a little bit more support in that fight that you might be coming across. All right, guys, so that's a very general overview of occupying and establishing an observation position. Now we're going to get into like the practical application portion. You guys are going to see us kind of walk through it. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. Again, this is a very simple task. It's a 1000 level 0300 event. This is something that like basic private entry-level privates are trained on. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know. What's going on, gents? Today we're going to be going over observation posts. We're going to be hitting the things that go along with it, such as the individual skills, setting into an OP, the individual camouflage, and the things that go along with setting into an OP. I'm going to be talking you guys through how to set into it and the things that go along with that. With help my buddy here, he's going to demonstrate it as I'm talking through it. All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to hit is individual camouflage. So what we have here is we have our rifle. It has some boot bands, rubber bands on it, and it has some vegetation stuffed in there. It's going to give your rifle more of a 3D look. We also have the helmet or Kevlar with the netting tied in some vegetation. It's going to help us conceal our helmet and get rid of the round shape of the helmet itself. We also got the Cobra hood. So while we're moving long distances, the Cobra hood's going to sit underneath the top flap. You can go ahead and veg it up some, just kind of depends. In this scenario we're in, we vegged up in a very green spot, and now we're in a pine area. So if you take a long halt, might be a good idea to re-veg it. But from here, my partner is going to go ahead and take the Cobra hood out, put it on. Again, very easy system with the Cobra hood. You can just unclip it from the top, throw it on while another dude's setting security for you. Yep, sling it over and you're good to go. And again, the context of us setting into this OP is we're a standard rifle platoon. Our platoon commander has tasked us out with establishing an observation position on a likely avenue of approach that juxtaposes our patrol base. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you guys how to actually depart friendly lines and what goes into establishing that observation position. All right, guys, so we went over individual camouflage, what we kind of did to prep for that. Now, before we depart friendly lines, what we need to make sure we hit is our 5-point contingency plan. So that's going, others going, time I'll return, what to do if I don't return, and actions on contact if I take it or friendlies take it. So if I'm the one departing friendly lines, I would say, hey, platoon commander, ATL, platoon sergeant, whoever I'm talking to, I'm going to be going to the observation position. It's approximately 300 meters to the northwest. I'm going to be taking myself and one of my GP guys. From there, I can say the time I will return is roughly 3 hours or when I'm relieved. And what to do if I do not return could be go to the grid of the OP. And actions if I take contact is I'll break contact to the patrol base. Actions if you guys take contact, the platoon in this scenario will likely just break contact to a nearby rally point. So once that 5-point contingency plan is given and everyone's tracking and we've gotten a comm check with the platoon commander or whoever's maintaining that radio communication, we'll then move to our OP. All right, guys, so before we push out to our observation position, we need to make sure that where we're going is somewhere familiar and we know that it's actually going to be a good spot for an observation position. If we are tasked with conducting surveillance on something, we need to be able to see it. So prior to us stepping, we'll likely conduct a map reconnaissance or use an ISR asset to pinpoint a good spot for the OP. Also, if our platoon is operating in this AO, we've probably passed the spot that we actually want the OP at to begin with. So before we leave, we need to make sure that we're actually setting the OP in a good spot. This spot in particular, probably not the best due to just the lack of overhead cover. But we're going to talk about movement to a good spot and how to actually establish it once we get there. All right, guys, so now we're going to talk about movement to the OP. So we did our map reconnaissance. We do have some really good overhead cover in here, a lot better than before. So movement to here. We do have a deer trail kind of behind us. This OP is going to have us conducting surveillance on the deer trail. So now we're going to talk through that movement. As we're approaching it, we're going to get low. So like kind of in the high crawl position. All right, and we're going to just slowly move there. We want to be slow and deliberate because, again, we don't have eyes on this objective yet. There could be enemy in this AO. That's why we're going to do a SILS once we actually set into the OP. All right, so we're going to set into the OP. We found a good spot that has some cover and some concealment with the built-up earth here. Once we get into the spot, typically this will be done with 1 to 2 men, but we're just kind of demonstrating it with one guy right now. He's in this position. Once he gets here, he's going to conduct SILS. That's stop, look, listen, smell. If anything out of the baseline appears from there, that might give us an indication that somebody or something is here that's not supposed to be. So we're in the spot. We've established that this is the right spot that we're supposed to be looking at. He can see the majority of this deer trail that's over here. He's good. Security on these OPs is quite limited. If you do have the opportunity to set in like a Claymore or any other explosives, that's always a good option. So from here, once he's established security, in order to fully establish it as an OP, he needs to get comm back with higher. So what he'll do is he'll get a radio check, make sure he's established good comm. From here, what he will do, or what his buddy will do, is he'll get a radio check back with higher, and there should already be pre-established comm windows. However you want to set up the comm windows is fine, but you just have to make sure that there is some communication back to higher. Otherwise, this position is likely not as important as it could be. All right, guys, so again, to hit this TNR, what we need to make sure is we've departed friendly lines by giving that GOTWA, letting them know how many people have departed and for how long. We need to move by a covered and concealed route to our observation position, we need to establish security, comm, and then report any sort of activity that we're required to do once we're in the OP. And again, those reporting procedures are however you want to do it. They can be through radio, through field phone, or through signals. Just depends on what you want to do in that particular operation.
All right, guys. So once we set into the OP, we have all those things done. We've established security, comm, and we are starting our reporting procedures. We can start to improve this position. It just 100% depends on your duration in this OP. So if this is something that's going to be between like 6 and 24 hours, not too much needs to happen here, especially if you have good overhead cover and you have good individual concealment. Where the OP or the position improvement starts to happen is when you're going to be there for long duration of time, like 24 to 48 hours. What you can do is hollow out your position with an E-tool if you have the time and space for that. You can get your body a little bit lower, and you can even throw some overhead concealment above you if you want to.